Hi, it's Brian Forster of Hidden Inca Tours, and today we're exploring in Cairo. We're in the National Museum in Cairo, and previously you were not allowed to take photographs whatsoever, but as you can see, I'm actually filming in 4K video. So this is a series of slides showing you out-of-place artifacts or misidentified artifacts at the museum. These two boxes are outside. The one on the left is described as being older than the one on the right. But as you can see, the one on the left, the lid and the box were made of one piece of very hard granitic stone, whereas the one on the right is much cruder and is said to have been made later. Notice the relatively crude hieroglyphics on the surface. And then inside the museum, there's an unfinished box which has power tool saw marks. You can see there are two circular saws, approximately 6 feet in diameter. Something went wrong and the top broke off. You can also see that the width of the blade changes. It's wider near the shank or center. And here we can see where the cutting saw went off course. It veered to the left from the line it was supposed to follow. Then here we have some straight saw marks in the lid of a box that had to have been done again with a power tool. And notice the difference between the surface of the stone and the very crude hieroglyphics. And here again, a giant granitic box with some relatively crude hieroglyphics on the surface compared to the box itself. And this is another example. Very smooth and straight granitic stone surface, and then very rough etching done to the surface. So clearly the glyphs and etching was done much, much later by the dynastic people. Then we have the famous Schist Disc, which is a metamorphic stone device of some kind. Clearly looks like it was meant to rotate, an impeller of some kind possibly. It was found badly damaged and then was very badly repaired, probably at the museum, but originally it would have been very bilaterally symmetrical, and this is not something that would be very simple to make by hand. In the same area, this interesting looking bowl or plate with 5 cupped surfaces on it. Again, notice the perfectly circular shape in the middle. It appears that this was made on a machine. Then, of course, we have the boomerangs. Were they independently created by the Egyptians, or did they come from Australia? And, of course, King Tutankhamun. Here we see he's portrayed with an elongated skull. Also, this strange vessel that obviously is not a bathtub, it's too shallow, but what was it? Again, made out of very hard granitic stone, very highly polished surface, not something that the Bronze Age dynastic people could have made. And also these interesting perfect circles in very hard granitic stone. This is something that 99.9% of the people visiting the museum wouldn't see, but we were in search of evidence of lost ancient high technology. That was our whole function in the museum. Obvious tube drill holes in a very large granite box. And here we have a quartzite box. Now quartzite is 7 out of 10 in terms of hardness, so again this could not have been made by the dynastic people. This is another quartzite container of some kind. I have no idea what its original function was. And this is called a pyramidon or pyramidion, supposedly the capstone of a pyramid, again made of very hard stone with rough glyphs. And what this device is or was, I have no idea. Again, it's made out of very hard quartzite. Some people would say it was a game or something for sorting seeds. But who made it and when? Also, this beautiful calcite box, I refuse to call it a sarcophagus, though it was possibly used for that function later, but look at these perfect arcs, perfect flat surfaces. This had to have been done by machining. And here we have a perfectly circular hole, which actually tapers down. It's narrower at the bottom than at the top. And here outside the museum, this roughed out quartzite vessel of some kind with some inscriptions on it. And then in the Saqqara Museum, these hard stone bowls and other vessels that had to have been turned on lathes. These are calcite. They may have been done by hand. You see they're not perfectly symmetrical. But these ones had to have been made on lathes, which suggests power, probably electricity, and they're even labeled as being from the pre-dynastic time period, the so-called archaic period, which would be 6,000 plus years ago. So these are older than the invention of the potter's wheel. You see there are drill holes, and again, perfectly bilateral shape, so clearly made on a lathe. And this one too, this is the underside. You see again, almost perfect execution. And these are the tools that Egyptologists would suggest were responsible.